Hello. It has been a while. The gap between 8 and 9 felt longer than the gap between 4 and 5, in my opinion. So how are you guys doing? I'm doing okay. I've been better, but we're going to be discussing Robotech, so that's pretty cool. That's always something I enjoy doing, even though I don't do a whole lot of it. So, let us begin. Oh, and I've had some issues with OBS recently, so if you happen to notice any problems, just let me know, and I'll see if I can try to fix them. So, Azonia makes her first appearance in the comics on the first page of issue 9. She's kind of a bitch in this. Like, she was a little bit of one in the show, but she's, Britai, was like, if you'd given me more notice, I would have been able to, give you the type of ceremonial, hoo-ha that you deserve. She's like, but instead you offer this half measure. It's very you. It's like, oh, damn, she's not messing around. On the second page, they continue their conversation. I think that's where the line actually comes from, is the second page. Yeah, it's from the second page, and here's the stuff, the ceremonial proceedings, for her arrival. Miria has a weird panel on this particular page. She kind of sticks her arm out like this and kind of arm bars Exodore, and she's like, boo. And, when I first read the page, I was like, oh, she's stopping him so Azonia and Britai can chit-chat. But in the very next page, Exodore's walking right behind Britai again, and Miria's nowhere to be seen. So it's like, what was the point? Just to be like, oh, here's Miria. Like, there's a couple issues I have with this particular, issue. And that's kind of one of them. It's kind of felt like with that first Miria panel, it's just like, here's Miria. We know you guys have been wanting to see her. But Dolza is not happy with Britai having let the Micronians escape his ship. He's thought that was a poor decision on Britai's part, and is very angry about it, and wants Britai to suffer the consequences of such a decision. So that is what's going on at the very start of the issue. Makes sense. That's something Dolza would be angry about. Didn't happen in the show, though, so can't be certain, but it does seem like something he would not take kindly to. And then we get to Lisa, Dr. Lang, and Roy all sitting behind the one-way window or mirror, whatever you want to call it, with Edward sitting inside the interrogation area, and Lisa asks for answers as to what he's doing on the ship, who is he, how do they know him, etc., etc. Roy explains that they served together until he got into a more theoretical, warfare type stuff. And then Lang drops his first reference of Dr. Laszlo Zand, saying that the two of them ended up coming together and so forth, and they both got permission to be on the ship, and Roy says that's where he last saw Edwards, was on that first exploration of the ship. And Lisa's like, well, why is he on the ship now? What's he doing here? Is he the one that sent the communications? And before Roy can finish saying, I don't know, she's like, yeah, you've told me. That's not, I want you to figure it out. And then she and Lang walk out afterwards. There is something I want to cover as far as this whole section. We still have no idea what's going on with the whole global thing, whatever. But, in the last issue, it's revealed that Roy killed Global, which I'm not saying it couldn't be. Sorry, I have a dry throat. It certainly could be that. I mean, the footage says so. But I did notice their character designs in the comics. They have the same, exact same hair color and hair type. It's just Edward's is a little bit longer. But they have a similar facial structure. The only big difference between them is Edward seems to have red eyes, whereas Roy has blue. That's the biggest difference between them, and I looked back at the previous issue, and yeah, it's the person that killed Global had blue eyes, but that is at the same time probably the easiest thing to hide. So right now my two working theories on this is either it was Edwards disguising himself as Roy killing Global. No matter what, it's still weird because Global was heading in the opposite direction of where of the bridge, according to, what was it, issue, I want to say it was issue 5. They said, oh yeah, he wasn't heading towards the bridge. So that kind of tells me that there was something more. And in the novels, Global was on the SDF-1 expedition with Roy and Edwards. So it could be that he spotted Edwards and went to go confront him, and Edwards killed him, and the tape or whatever has been manipulated. That's one of my theories. Another theory is it could be another timelines Roy, because as we've discovered, there's multiple timelines in this comic at this point. So could be another timeline trying to prevent some sort of cataclysmic event in this timeline by killing Global. I have no idea. Those are my two working theories right now. So we'll just have to see about that. But I did find it interesting that they look almost identical. This is the only panel we get to see the spies, unfortunately. It's a little disappointing. I get it. It wasn't really the focus of the issue, whatever. But they are some of my favorite characters in the show, and they haven't even had a line yet. They appear on the last page or whatever in the last issue, and Britai's like, "These are my spies. They're gonna infiltrate from the inside." And then here he's like, "Yeah, I expect I'll get some credit for putting the spies on the ship, but I need more to protect myself." And so this is all we get to see of the spies, but it looks like they've already found Micronian clothing. No dress this time, so I guess that's a good thing. It's just a little disappointing that we haven't actually gotten to see any of their personalities for this series yet, or any of their interactions of being part of a culture that's only war. That's all they know is war. That's all they're built for is war. They don't know how to repair. They don't know how to do anything except fight wars. And here's 3 of them on a ship where most of the population does not fight wars. So it's going to be interesting to see the dynamic in a more modern sense for that. But yeah. Anyway, so yeah, he's like, "Oh yeah, I need to get some credit for. I'll get some credit for the spies, but I need to do more in order to save myself from Dulce's wrath." So he and X-Door plot, and they're doing something with Mars. It's kind of said. So they're doing something with Mars. That's interesting. Maybe we'll see it later in the issue. We'll see. So Roy blows off Rick, and then Claudia blows off Roy. So kind of immediate payback, so to speak. And this kind of highlights my point as to why I don't think it's Roy. Is Roy's the one that suggested, "Hey, let's conduct this investigation to see who killed Global." And he's the one that found the video chip, and he's like, "All right, we'll have to extract the information off this." And he could have easily destroyed it if it was him while it was in his room. The computer they were using is in his room, and Claudia's just been going back and forth between the bridge and his barracks trying to figure this out. He could have easily, in the time she was on the bridge and he was off, could have easily destroyed the information. But he didn't. And on top of that, his body language and his excitement is like, it finished? Who was it? What did you learn? She's like, "Oh yeah, it just the data was irreparably damaged. There's nothing we can do." But it's just like, I don't see him being the guy that did it, just because his body language and his actions have said otherwise. So there's definitely more going on there than just, "Oh, Roy did it." And now that there's an interesting dynamic between him and Claudia, because Claudia does think he did it because she saw the footage. And so now there's going to be that interesting dynamic where they're in a relationship, but she thinks that he killed her boss, and he has no idea who killed her boss. So that's going to be an interesting plot later. Yes. So Britai's doing some training, and we get our first appearance of the Invid in a flashback sequence on this page. And the Invid look okay right now. It's kind of, because it's flashback, it's kind of got a not sepia. Is that what it is? Kind of that kind of style to it. So you can't really see in great detail the finer areas of the Invid. But we do get to see the Invid, at least the what is it? Can't remember the name of the scouts that have the guns. I'm drawing a blank right now. But yeah, they that's it's interesting that they went back to a flashback, but for Britai, like, I'm fine with it because Britai's character has kind of been bland for the most part in this series so far. So it's nice to kind of get a little bit deeper into his character. But we still have not had a flashback or anything since the fourth issue, when it showed the flashback of Roy on the ship, on the, exploring the SDF-1 with Donald Hayes. So I kind of wish that they did more with that. Maybe with the now appearance of Edwards, maybe they will do something with that. But it's been 5 issues now, and they haven't touched that plot line in 5 issues. Not even one reference to it. Like, I guess they've referenced it. They haven't done anything with it, though. And it's kind of like, you're going somewhere with it. Where were you going? You can't just... I realize that they've changed writers now, and Brian Wood has nothing to do with the project. But it's kind of like, you can't just drop this plot line. It seemed kind of important. But who knows? I just find it interesting that they went back to a flashback. It wasn't the flashback storyline we were getting earlier. Oh, yeah, I forgot about this. So, an interesting thing happens during this is Britai training again. He's just destroying a male power armor while he was having those flashbacks. Going back to him having a little bit deeper characterization in the series, as he's fighting, he's giving himself like this pep talk. He's trying to pump himself up while he's beating these male power armors up. And he says something interesting. He's during that pep speech, he wants to be more than just a Zentradi. He's in the pep speech, he's talking about breaking through his predetermined aggressive nature and be tactful and strategic and more than what they made you to be. And that's kind of interesting that even though he is a Zentradi through and through, and even though he does want to meet the Zentradi imperative, he is also at the same time trying to break from Zentradi norms and being more than just, oh, hey, here's this guy that's just a killing machine like everybody else. Sorry. Trying to get comfortable. So after that whole training sequence, which again I really enjoyed, we get Lisa. Lisa is kind of thinking about Carl. She's going through that book she recovered on Mars base. She's staring at a picture of Carl that was shoved into the book of her and Carl. And she's just like, you know, thinking about their interactions and, you know, her regrets as far as their relationship and everything went, and all that fun stuff. And Claudia comes in, and she wants to talk to Lisa about Global's death. But before she can talk to Lisa, of course, the bridge calls, and they're like, hey, you're needed on the bridge immediately. She's like, okay, well, we'll talk about this later, Claudia. You know, that's famous last words, right? So, she and Claudia come onto the bridge, and she asks Sammy for a report. She's like, all right, what is it, Sammy? And Kim's like, oh, I'll say something instead of Sammy. I'll speak up, because that is definitely Kim. That is definitely not Sammy. But she's the one that answers, so that is definitely a clear faux pas of the issue. It's a minor one. It's kind of more, hey, that's a stupid thing that happened, right? You know, it's more than just a criticism. It's just kind of, oh, that's funny. The wrong character is answering her. But they apparently they got their communications back up after the whole Chiron thing in the last issue, and they're getting a signal from Mars base. Remember that from earlier? Yeah. They're getting a signal from Mars base. It's a faint signal. It's using an old code, but a verified code. Because we all learned from Return of the Jedi that works perfectly when you accept a old but verified code. Your enemies definitely aren't using those. So, Claudia tries her darndest to keep Lisa from going. She's like, hey, you're captain now. This isn't Star Trek. Can't just go down willy-nilly and leave the ship, you know, on to the what's now the third commanding officer. I mean, Global's dead now, so the second in charge before is now the one in charge. So that means the third in charge before is now going to be in charge now that Lisa's going to Mars. But Lisa insists that it must be done. They must have confirmation if there's even just one living person there. And if it happens to be Carl, you know, so be it. Yeah. I definitely have some issues with Lisa in this series, in the simple fact of she's kind of being stupid as a captain. Look, the whole Captain Kirk thing is, you know, a cool idea, but in all honesty, if you want to have a captain, you want to have a captain more like Jean-Luc Picard. You want a captain that has a crew he trusts to go do the mission, and he sends them on doing the mission, and he takes care of what he needs to do on the bridge with the remaining crew, and being there in case the crew that, you know, his away crew leaves. That is what a good captain would be doing in that situation. And time after time, Lisa has not been doing that. Decidedly so. So it's kind of like, come on. Lisa, you gotta be smarter than that, girl. So anyway, next up, boom. Miria and Azonia are like, Exodor, it seems like you're avoiding us. Come on, what's going on? We're looking for Britai. His punishment is coming. He needs to be here. And Exodor's like, he's away. He's doing maneuvers. Oh, okay. That makes sense. And then on this page 2, the last panel of this page switches back to the humans, and it's Lisa and Vermilion Squadron, which is Rick, Ben, and Max, Roy, and then another rando pilot, and then Dr. Lang. And Dr. Lang's like, oh, these super Veritechs will get you to Mars in no time. Rick's like, question? And Lang's like, yes, Rick, it'll get you back home too. Wow. So they go along with that. They start doing their preparations for their trip. Roy introduces Rick to the rando pilot, and his name is Kramer. Now, if you just watch the show, Kramer is only mentioned once in the show, and I want to say it was the first episode. If not, it was the second episode. But in the books, he's a little bit more famous in the fact that he was basically, and the way the comics framing him is the same way, he was basically Roy's second in charge. If Roy was unavailable for some reason, it was Captain Kramer, which Commander Captain, why is Roy ahead of him if he's Captain? I don't know. But point is, he was Roy's second in command, and there's not in the books he dies. In the show, the pilot in the book, I guess, the pilot of the Cat's Eye dies at the end of the recon. So his fate's not looking good. Actually, I think I haven't switched photos yet. Oh, wrong one. There we go. There he is. There he is with Roy and Rick. His fate's not looking good, guys. He's so anyway, lost my place. Oh, okay. As I said before, I don't think Roy killed Global. I think this is just a bigger part of the story. That being said, Roy, you gotta stop acting suspicious, buddy. You gotta stop doing it. While all of them are prepared and all of them... Hey, guys. Yeah, he is the red shirt. Nick, what's up? It's good to hear from you. I'm Dean, by the way. I'm the one that the one that's always posting stuff on your guys' Twitter and everything. Anyway, yeah, he's definitely the red shirt. But Roy's like, no, he is not long for this world at all. But Roy's like, Kramer, if anything goes wrong, you know what to do. It's like, come on, Roy. Everyone's just standing there and you're telling him this. Quit being vague. I mean, you're kind of acting suspicious. You've been acting suspicious this entire comic series. Let's. Yeah, yeah. That's one of my theories. I agree with that. My other theory could be connected to uh, Edwards. Um, but yeah, I definitely agree with your alt Roy ideas. Yeah, nice to meet you too, Nick. Uh, but anyway, so here's another issue I have, but we'll get to that in a minute. Oh, all right. Yeah, we can always discuss that. I'm fine with that. um, so anyway, they arrive at Mars and they oh, Pipey. Oh, you gotta love Pipey. Um, anyway, they arrive on Mars, and the Cat's Eye is flying around Mars, and they're on Vermilion Squad is on the ground, kind of doing their search, and um, uh, they find something in the ground, and I don't know what's going on here. That's one of the problems I have with this issue, and a couple of the other issues is some of the uh, there's a random explosion right here. I don't know what's going on here. It's not really well explained or framed, so to speak, in the issue. And but anyway, it looks like they're being thrown back, and then the bunker is exposed. But anyway, that's definitely an issue I have with some of the issues of this series so far. So after they find the bunker, they get it open, and Kramer and Lisa walk into it and see alien tech there. And they're like, this isn't good. And they get trapped in there, and there's Zentradi surrounding them. And then the next 3 pages, or I guess it's a little bit more than 3 pages. I can't remember how many pages now. Oh, starting to have a little bit of issues. I guess it's 5 pages because I just put all the screen grabs together. Britai kicks Vermilion Squad's butt single-handedly. It's pretty impressive. I like the pseudo reference to Bane in Batman right there on the final page where he's breaking Rick's Veritech there. Somehow he has some sort of sword that he slashes Max's Battloid up with. But yeah, basically he kicks their butt pretty handedly at that. That's pretty much all you can really glean from those issues, or those pages, sorry. Then you have Snoke Dolza is what I'm calling this particular frame in the on this page. I mean, dude, you're a 50-foot alien. Why do you need to have a 500-foot hologram? It's like you're definitely overcompensating here. All right, let's be honest here. But yeah, so he's like, Britai, I'm impressed. You fixed your previous mistake. You let those Micronians go, but you got them back, even though you kind of went against orders to do it. But good for you. You're going to be leading with Azonia. You both are going to tag team it. Good luck. And it's like, that's going to be an interesting dynamic. having two COs at the same time with the same amount of power. Yeah, that's immediately what I thought was Snoke dolls. I was just like, man. But yeah, so that's about it for that page. There was a lot more action. This kind of reminds me of the first 4 issues where there was a lot more action than there was dialogue, and it kind of just breezed through fairly quickly. There's not a whole lot to dig in because there's not a whole lot there. And then they're on the ship, trapped, and you know, Lisa's like, Rick, we're over here, Rick. You know, it's kind of bad. We're on the ship, and Rick's like, I don't care if we're on the alien ship. I'm blind. I really want to know what's going on with this whole Rick I storyline. It kind of seemed off from the start, and it's just kind of like, it's an interesting idea, but at the same time, I don't know. I'm not really feeling it. If any of you are feeling it, that's great. I don't know. It seems like a weird story, you know, point to have. Maybe he gets Lang eyes. Who knows? Maybe that's gonna happen. But I don't know. I'm just not particularly feeling that whole arc right there. But anyway, I've been enjoying the series so far. I kind of feel like this issue is a little bit of a dip from the high point of the last couple issues. Like I said before, there are a couple moments that were kind of like, what? Like with the Myria just being like, boo, to Exodore. It's like, what was that? Like I said, initially I thought, oh, she's stopping him so that Britai and Azonia can have their conversation. But then Exodore's, yeah, it's I'm going to give them benefit of the doubt for that, but it's definitely yes, I do like that they kind of threw us for a loop, because you're like, oh, well, they're not getting captured, and then they're like, oh yeah, they're getting captured, don't worry, we're sticking with the story, we're just kind of changing things around. But oh, the kiss. Yeah. Oh, I mean, maybe. Lisa and Rick have no chemistry right now, so who knows? But yeah, like at the first, when the Myriad, on that first page, when Myriad's like, boo, to Exodore, I was like, oh, she's stopping him. And then next, Exodore's right behind Britai again. It's like, what was the point of that panel whatsoever? Like, here's Myria? What was that? And then the whole random explosion, like, I don't understand what that was there on Mars, where they're just like, there's something right here, and then it's poof. Like, I don't get it. What were you trying to do there? But so there were a couple moments like that where it's like, I don't understand why that had to be there. Why couldn't the bunker have just been there? Why was there a random explosion? That's not explained whatsoever. Why did Myria go boo to Exodore? Like, that had no reasoning other than here's Myria, you know? So I did have issues with that. Britai. I love that Britai got, you know, deeper character development and everything. But he still has perpetual angry face. Like, the faces have gotten better as the series have gone on, I think. Global had his own fart face. You know, Minmay kind of had had like a bitchy face. Like the faces always kind of seemed off. And I think the last couple issues, the faces have gotten better, but Britai still has perpetual angry face. And even when he was doing that training simulation where he's really getting deep into his thoughts and, he's like, gotta be more than what they want you to be. You gotta be more than just your Zentradi programming. I know. Like, I don't understand what that was. But I wish that rather than him being angry, I wish there was, serious, ponder, more of a thoughtful face rather than, oh, I'm angry. I'm a warlord kind of face. Like, I get it. He's a 50-foot alien that's bred for war. Like, let's see some sort of, yeah, yes, he did. And I like that they're kind of mixing in the off canon. I guess I don't know. I don't see why. I don't understand why that particular panel had to be there. But yeah, I do like how they're mixing in the other story stuff into the comics. But as I touched on, Lisa continues to make stupid decisions as captain. I kind of don't like Lisa in this series because she's definitely being a Captain Kirk, and that's definitely not what the SDF-1 needs. They don't need a Captain Kirk. They need a Picard, and she's not willing to be that. She's left for Mars twice, leaving Claudia in charge. Claudia's the second officer, when the voyage started. The captain dies, and Lisa gets promoted. Yeah, I agree. But I don't know. I don't like the whole kind of Captain Kirk approach she has to it. Although I do like how they addressed this particular capture. It seems it was very set up very well. It's like, Lisa, come on, quit being stupid. You have a bunch of people under your command. Stage lights flashing, the feeling smashing. So yeah, that's kind of everything I have on it. It wasn't a bad issue, but it definitely was nowhere close to the best issue, and kind of is a little bit of a dip from the high point that was the last 2 or 3 issues. So what do you guys think about it? What's your overall thoughts on this particular issue and the series in general? Yeah. Yeah, that's another thing. Like, what was that whole river ghost thing? Like, what was the whole point of that? Like, I don't... Like, I kind of wish they addressed that more, because it seems like they're going to be leaving Mars for a while. I don't... Yeah, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, because like I said, the last 3 issues before this were phenomenal. I loved them. They're my 3 favorite issues of the series so far, but it's... this one was definitely a dip in quality. And Yes. Yeah. Uh, that was my biggest issue with the first two comics is like half of the frames didn't have any dialogue whatsoever, and it's like, okay, got anything else? It's kind of like, okay, I can move past that now. That certainly could be, but are they going to end up back at Mars, though, is my question. Like, because their Veritechs are destroyed, so there's no way for them to return to the SDF-1 by Veritech. So they're probably going to end up going back to the SDF-1 this in a similar way to what they did in the show, because they have no vehicles to do it unless there's some hiding in the remains of Mars base somewhere. But there could be a Ribber, Rick, and Lisa triangle. That'd be interesting, to say the least. But yeah, Minmay, man, she hasn't been in the last issue and a half, because the last time we saw her was halfway through the last issue. And it was her looking out and seeing that Rick wasn't there, because he was all pissy that he got friend-zoned. Sorry, dude. Happens. Alright, I think I'm going to go ahead and call it quits. I hear my daughter's acting up out there, so I'm going to have to tell them they need to go back to bed. So, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed. And I'll see you guys when the next issue comes out. How about that?